Right, hello, and welcome to Intermediate Word. Ferguson Library presents Intermediate Microsoft Word. Thanks for everybody who's joining me today. We are going to be getting in and getting started with this class. So to start off, first I would like to just kind of cover how the classes work here at Ferguson Library's YouTube channel. So I am here live presenting to you, obviously. So if you do have any questions, there are a couple different places that you can ask questions of me. The first is in the chat right on your YouTube page. So right either to the right side or below the YouTube video here, you can type in your questions and I will see them. Additionally, if you are not signed into YouTube or Google and you don't want to sign into YouTube or Google, you can go to the webpage that was right here above my head, fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes, and there is a chat room on there, and I'll show that in just a second. There's a chat room on there that you can then go and ask questions. I will see questions at either place, so there is not a preference for one or the other. You can be completely anonymous on the chat room on the page. So, since I mentioned it, here is, before we start this class, I do encourage you to go to the website here, fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes, and I'm just going to pop this page right up here so you can see the address right here above my head. So it's right over here above my head. So feel free to go and visit that page. When you're there, this is what you'll see. Right up here at the top of the page, we have our upcoming class schedule. So you can see we're right here on our second entry, Intermediate Microsoft Word, here on Thursday, February 11th. This is the link to the video, but if you're already watching it here, you don't need that. If you missed last week's basic Microsoft Word class, you can go to this link here and it will take you to the video on demand for last week's class. Scrolling down, down below that there are two different sections under the Online Technology Class Materials and Resources. So down here, you will, over on the left is we have all of the class materials. And what you'll want to do is you'll want to come down to where it says Intermediate Microsoft Word, click the little plus sign here, and that will open up the section here for Intermediate Microsoft Word. And you will need several different things to follow along with this class. The first is going to be the exercise handout here. So this is a PDF file, and I do recommend that the easiest way to kind of handle and manage these files, instead of just clicking it, left clicking it with your mouse, right click with your mouse button and come down and choose Save Link As, and this will allow you to choose a location on your computer to download it and save it on your computer, and then you can open it up there. So the exercise handout, when you download it, will open up and it will look like this. And I'm just going to make this so we can see the whole page. So this is just a couple pages long. And basically this will have some of the exercise, they'll have the descriptions of the exercises that we're working through this class here. So let me go back to my page. You can see I have a lot of stuff open. Then down below under the exercise handout is the practice document. This is a Microsoft Word document that we're going to be doing our work inside of. So once again, you'll want, as the instructions say, you'll want to right click, choose Save Link As, and then save it to your computer. And when you do and open it up, it'll open up in Microsoft Word and it will just be this Worldwide Importers file here. And we'll talk about more about this here when we get to start working on the exercises. The third thing that you'll want to pay attention to out of the class resources over here is the exercise images. One of the skills that we're going to be looking at in this class is we're going to be looking at how to insert images from your computer into a Microsoft Word document and how to work with images in your Microsoft Word document. Now, in order to get these images here, what you'll want to do is you'll want to left click with your left mouse button on the link that says Exercise Images, and what it'll do is it'll open up a new tab. You can see right up here on the top I have a new tab open. And it will open up this page here with the images. Now, you don't need to download all of them. There's 6 images here. You can download the ones that you want. Do this here by left-clicking on the image. It will open it up in your browser like this. Right-click and choose Save Image As. And then I just recommend save it in the same place where you put the practice document and the handout, just so everything's together. to do save image as, and then you can choose where you can save it. And then after you've saved the file, click the back button on your browser and wait for the page to reload again. And then go do the same thing. So left click on the new image, right click, choose save image as, save it, and then go back and do it again. So once you have the images that you want, and you have the practice document and the exercise handout, you're all set to follow along with this class. The fourth thing under the class resources here under Intermediate Microsoft Word is a link to my feedback survey. So at the end of this class, this link will actually be on the screen at the end of the class, so you'll be able to see it there. But if you miss it on the screen or you're coming to this afterwards, you can just come here and click on the link here, and it will open up the survey for you to complete right here online. Over here on the right, under the online technology class materials, is the chat room for participation in chat. So you can see there's some rules here, no spamming, blah, 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 blah. And so what happens is you'll go in and you'll click join. And what happens is then we will be in the chat room right here. Okay, mine's looking, hold on, let me refresh. I did some kind of signing in one place, and so here we go. Now it's all set. So now here we are. And so what happens is right down here in the box down below, you can just type your message here. So you can type your questions in the chat here. And then just hit enter, and it will send the message. I'm just going to turn off, no sound. Just turn off the sound on that, just so that I am not hearing that as it's popping up. And so when you ask a question over here or have a comment for me, I will see it, as well as in the YouTube chat. I will see them both. You may notice that through the course of this class, I'm looking over this direction here. And the reason for that is I have another screen with those chats, so I'm able to see them. The other thing to keep in mind as we're doing this class here on YouTube, what you're watching is on a little bit of a delay. It's anywhere from about 20 to 30 seconds behind where I currently am in my class. So if you ask a question and I seem to have moved on and I haven't quite responded to your question just hold on. I will see the question, and I will usually decide kind of a good point to stop and go back and kind of cover the answer to your question there. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. I am doing all of this here for you. And I really want to make sure that you're getting the best experience out of this year and getting what you want to know learned. So let me think if there's anything else I need to cover about going over with the YouTube class. I think that's about it. I usually have notes for this, but this is one of my older classes, so I don't. So what are we covering here in Microsoft Word, Intermediate Microsoft Word? So coming into this class, some of the stuff that you should already know to be able to follow along is you should know how to create a new Word file. We're not going to cover over how to create a blank Word file and start working in it. You should know how to save and open a saved Word file. You should know how to change the font, size, and format of the text in a Word document, and you should also know how to change the justification of text in a Word document. These are all things that were covered in the basic Microsoft Word class that I did last week, so that is available on demand here at YouTube at Ferguson Library, or YouTube/C/the Ferguson Library, our YouTube channel. So if you want to go back, you can watch that and follow along. With that, what I will be covering in this class is first we're going to look at how to insert and edit an image in a Microsoft Word document. Then we're going to look at how to insert and edit a table in a Microsoft Word document. Then we're going to look at the headers and footers of your Microsoft Word document. So we're going to look at what you can do in the very top of the document and the very bottom of the document. And then finally, we're going to do a brief introduction to styles and see what the whole styles thing in Microsoft Word is all about. So let me know if there are any questions on any of those there. And we should get in and start working with our class and what we're going to be looking at. So in order to kind of follow along with this class, my best recommendation is because you're probably sitting here watching this on your screen, and then in the background you have Microsoft Word open, you've opened up the practice document. What I'm going to do throughout this class is I'm going to talk about the skill that I'm covering, and I'm going to demonstrate it while I'm talking about it. And then I'll go through and do another brief kind of cover again that skill, and then I'm going to give you between 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how long I think it is, you can go into your own Microsoft Word and you can kind of do the same skills as well too, and you'll be able to more easily follow along if you follow along the handout here, because these will be kind of the different steps that I'll be showing there. And so that's a good time if you're going along and you're trying to follow along and you seem to be missing something or something doesn't seem to be clear. Ask me a question, and that's a good time for me to answer the question and kind of re-demonstrate how to do the skill in Microsoft Word. So we are going to start by opening up the Microsoft Word Intermediate Practice file. Now, this is just a kind of a generic kind of document, like a marketing type document thing that I found to work for this example here. There's nothing really specifically important about this. But when you open it up, if you've downloaded it from the website and you double click the file to open it up here in Microsoft Word, you'll notice one of the things that you might notice is right at the very top, this yellow bar will say Protected View. Be careful, files from the internet can contain viruses. Unless you need to edit, it is safer to stay in Protected View. And so what this is Microsoft Office recognizing that you got this file from the internet. It hasn't been opened up in your Microsoft Word program before, and it may contain threats. I will assure you this file is clean, there are no threats, but this is just a way to kind of make sure that your computer stays safe. Any file that you download, whether you download it from email or from a website, if you open it up in Microsoft Word, you're going to get this warning, and before you're able to do anything with the document, you're going to have to come up here and click the button that says Enable Editing. Oh, and I just realized you're not seeing any of this. Okay, so let me just kind of quickly go over this here again. I've opened up the Microsoft Word Intermediate Practice document here, and this is the yellow bar, the protected view right up at the top that I was telling you about. And so what you want to do is you want to click this button that says Enable Editing, and what that will do is that will then allow you to start working on and editing the document. You may notice also that like the navigation pane over here has opened up. Feel free to just close that. We're not going to need it. It's not something that we're going to be working on at all in this class here, so it's just taking up space on your screen. I am going to zoom in a little bit on my screen here just so that it looks a little clearer for what you're seeing. Now, for my example here, what you're seeing is you are seeing Microsoft Office 2019. This is one of the more recent versions of Microsoft Office. This is Microsoft Word 2019. Everything we're covering in this class will work if you're using Microsoft Office 2016 or Microsoft Office 365. It will also work if you're using Microsoft Word 2010 or 2013. Things might look a little different in 2010 or 2013, so if you're trying to follow along and things don't look exactly the same, or you're having trouble kind of following along because things are a little bit different, please let me know and I will explain where to find what you're looking for in Microsoft Word, in the version of Microsoft Word that you're using. For the most part though, a lot of it should be about the same. This class was originally developed using Microsoft Office 2010, and I really haven't had to do a lot of changes with the newer versions of Word. So everything really should be about the same, but if it isn't, please let me know. Okay, so last week when we did basic Microsoft Word, we spent a lot of time right here in the Home tab of the ribbon. So if you remember, the ribbon is the section right up here on the top where all of our kind of different functions and tools as we're working with our Microsoft Word document live. So we spent a lot of time looking at things like copy and paste and looking at the fonts and looking at this paragraph section here for things like justification. So what we're doing here for this for this class here is that we're actually going to be spending a lot of time right over here in the Insert tab. So when I click Insert, Insert tab is where you find all the things that you may want to take from outside of Microsoft Word and put them into your Microsoft Word document. So you're inserting them into your Microsoft Word document. There are a lot of different parts on here. We're not going to even scratch the surface of all these different things, but I highly encourage you that as you're continuing your exploration on how to use Word and use Microsoft Office, to explore and try out with these different things. See what they do. open up a blank Word document, something that doesn't have any value to you all, and just kind of just see what all these different things kind of do. Play around with it. Try some of the things that we're going to be doing in this class, so things like resizing and moving things around, just to see what you're able to do and what you can't do, and how the different things work. Because it's the best way. Playing around with that there is the best way to learn. And if you're doing it on something that's not important, that can't be broken, if you get yourself all messed up and you don't know what's really going on, so that you can just close that Microsoft Word document and open up a fresh one and start again. It's as simple as that. So we're going to start by looking at how to insert a picture. So our document here, this is a document from a fictional company called Worldwide Importers, and this is their kind of like marketing brochure about their bamboo products. So you can see it talks about bamboo and types of bamboo. Now it's kind of a plain, boring, black and white text on there, but we're going to look to kind of jazz things up, to make things a little bit more exciting on there. So we're going to add some pictures. So when you insert a picture, the picture is going to get inserted wherever your cursor is. So if you've noticed, like right around here, I have my little flashing cursor here, which is starting here at the start of the W. If I insert a picture, it's going to insert it where this cursor is. So if I go and put my cursor here into the middle of this paragraph, it's going to insert the picture right into the middle of that paragraph. So just keep that in mind, that when you insert a picture, it's going to put it wherever you have that cursor. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it at the start of the document where I started, right here at the top left corner of my whole document. I'm going to come up here to the ribbon tab up on the top, and I'm going to click over into the Insert tab. And then down under the Insert tab is a selection that says Pictures. You don't want online pictures, and we don't shapes or icons. We want pictures right now. So I'm going to click on this, and what it does is it opens up our classic Microsoft Windows file browser window. And I'm going to go to where I save the pictures from the online-tech-classes page. So I saved mine on the desktop, and I have a folder here that says Intermediate Word. And I have my pictures in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose one of the pictures that I have here. And I like this one. I like the second picture that I have here. So I'm going to click on the picture to select it. And I'm going to come down and click the Insert button in the browser window. And boom, there. I have the picture put into place right there on my in my document. And you can see it put it right where the cursor was. So now, once the picture is in there, this may not be exactly where I want the picture. This may not be what I want it to look like. I mean, it looks kind of weird, squashed up against the W for Wide World Importers over here. I decide maybe I don't like it right up here at the top. It might be too large. It might be too small. In this case, I think my exercise is we're going to make it a little bit larger. So right now it's a little too small. So let's look at how we can add. So once the picture is on your Word document, there is a kind of a wide variety. There's a lot of different things that you can do with it. Microsoft Word has kind of a light image editor built into it, so you don't even have to do a lot of work on the original image. You can do that right here in Word. And the nice thing about doing that there is that when you're doing the changes to an image in the Word document there, you're only changing the copy of that image that's in your Word document. You're not changing the original file. So if you, say, mess up, you end up, say, cropping off a whole section of it, and realize that's a mistake, you can go back in and just reinsert the original picture and start over again. So don't worry about mistakes. There's always a way to kind of undo and get around and fix mistakes in Microsoft Word. So once it's in here, I'm looking at this here, and it's like, okay, this is too small. I want it to be a little bit larger. So now there are a couple different ways that you can resize an image in Microsoft Word. The first way is by using your mouse, and if you look on the edges of the image here, and I'm putting my mouse around them, there are these 6 little dots going around the edges. And what these dots are is these are what are called handles. So handles are places where you can grab onto them, and then you can push or pull the picture to a different size, to different dimensions. So if I put my mouse, and you notice, like right now, my mouse over here is it's kind of like a kind of an eye-shaped cursor. And what that is this is the text insert cursor. This basically means that if I click, wherever it's at, if I click, it will put in my text insert cursor, my little flashing cursor line. You notice I clicked somewhere out of the picture and I lost the handles that went around it. I just need to click on it again to get those back. Now you'll notice that when I put my mouse over the picture, my mouse cursor now looks like an arrow over on top of a kind of cross of arrows. And what this indicates to me is that if I clicked and moved the mouse, it will drag the picture. So I can actually move it around. And you can see the black line. This is saying where it will get moved to. So if I move it down to there, you can see it. I've dragged and moved the picture down to that location there. Now when I move my mouse over to the edge on top of one of these handles, you'll notice that it turns into a pair of opposite facing arrows. So on the right side of the image here, the arrows point left and right. If I move it up here to the top, you'll notice that it moves up and down. Now if I put it over here at the corner, you'll notice that they go diagonally. So what this indicates to me is that the mouse now allows me to stretch or move the picture there. I'm actually just going to move this right back to where it was before. There we go. So if I put my mouse over here on the right side where I get those left and right facing arrows and I click and drag, I can now stretch or squish the picture to the left or right. If I put it up here on the top and I move this up, or actually, since it's at the very top of the graphic, I have to put it down at the bottom. If I put it down here on the bottom, I can stretch it up or squish it down, up or down. So I can go either way with that there. Now, when you're working with a picture that you've put into Microsoft Word, unless you're looking for a really specific effect that you're trying to get, I would recommend not really using the up and down or the left and right handles, because if you've noticed, when I do this here, is it distorts the picture. Like right now, it's stretching the picture out, so it's getting wider without getting taller. So it's kind of getting it stretched out. If I go the other direction, I can squish it. So now it's like really narrow. But the picture just no longer looks the way that it originally did. I'm undoing this here by hitting Control-Z on my keyboard. So once again, it's another skill. Like if you're doing something in Microsoft Word and you need to undo something, you can use Control-Z on your keyboard, or up here on the top left, there's this little like leftward facing curly arrow. You click that and now we'll go back a step. So again, don't be afraid to try things out. If it doesn't seem like it works out, just undo it and try something else. Now, I talked about the up and down and the left and right handles. Now, there's also handles in the corners, and so these are diagonal arrows. And what happens is what they'll do is if I click and drag on this, it doesn't matter if I go up or down or left or right, is that it will increase the height of the image and the width of the image at the same rate. And so what that does is that the term of that's called is that it keeps the aspect ratio of the picture. What the aspect ratio is it's the width to the height of the image. So that what happens is that when you take a picture with your digital camera, click, you have a picture there. Now that picture has a certain height and it has a certain width. And you can increase those by different percentages. So if you're like in an image editor, you can increase like the width and oftentimes it will also increase the height so that the picture does not look distorted. It doesn't get squished, it doesn't get stretched. It makes it look the same and just enlarges it all around. So I do recommend that unless you're looking for a specific effect with the image, use the corner handles here to resize it and keep the picture looking the way it does originally, just at a larger size. So that's the one major way to of changing the image or changing the size of the image. Now the other way is, if you notice right up here on the top on the ribbon, this is an important thing to kind of pay attention to, is we're in the Insert tab over here. We inserted a picture. Here's our Home tab, but you'll notice all the way over here on the right, there's a new tab that says Format. So when I click on this here, and you can see right above it actually says Picture Tools. So what this actually is this is what they call a context-sensitive tab. This tab will only show up when you have something selected that it can apply to. So if I go and click down into my paragraph down here where I'm not clicked on, I don't have a picture selected. I'm not clicked on a picture. I'm not changing a picture in any way. You'll notice that there is no picture tools format right up here. But when I click on the pictures again, it shows up. So I go to the Format tab, and this is where you get all of your tools that you can do to do some basic editing or adjustments of the picture that you've entered in. So over here, all the way on the right, what I want to kind of show you and such is that we have our size section on the ribbon here. And so we have things like the height and the width. This allows you can actually go in, you can either use the up and down arrows to kind of move it, to kind of nudge it to a specific size that you want, or you can actually go in and you can type in an actual amount if you wanted a very precise like height or width in there. Now this by default is set so that the aspect ratio, remember the height to the width, is locked. And what that basically means is that if I change my width here, it's going to automatically change the height to make sure that the picture looks the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually follow what's on the exercise handout here, and it says resize the image so that it has a 3-inch width. So I'm going to select width over here. I'm going to go select the width, and I'm just going to type the word 3 and hit enter. And what it does is it's now resized the image so then now it's now 3 inches wide on the page. And you can actually see right up here on my ruler, this edge here pretty much closely lines up to that 3 there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a couple minutes to go to your own intermediate practice Word document. You're going to insert one of the pictures that you downloaded from the online-class-tech-classes website. And then once you have the picture inserted in there, try resizing it with the handles. See what happens when you use the top or side handles, and then you can either undo or leave those there. And then go in and make the width 3 inches by using the height here in the Picture Tools Format tab. If you have any questions about that there, please let me know in the chat. But yeah, take about 2 minutes to do that. All right, so I hope you've had the opportunity to insert a picture and try resizing it and sizing it to a 3-inch width. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is you'll notice, as I mentioned before, when I dropped in this picture here, it's pressed right up against the W in Worldwide Importers. So we're going to look at what they call the position and the wrap text capabilities in Microsoft Word, because a lot of us, when we put in a picture, we want it to flow, we want it to work with our text in there and such, and not be kind of something that blocks or hinders the text. So once again, I have my picture selected, so I have my picture tools format right up here on the top, and so moving over to the left from our size section here, we have our range section. And so this is where you're also able to do some different things with the picture. So for example, you can rotate it. So if the picture comes in, like if you've taken a picture that is portrait, so it's supposed to be taller up and down than it is wide, but it comes in and it looks like it's sideways, you're able to rotate it here. Or if you wanted to make a picture upside down or whatever kind of thing that you wanted to do, you can do that with this here. Oh, I also just want to mention right over here on the size side, you can also crop the image. So if you wanted to, say, cut out different sections of the image or enlarge a certain part of it and make that part more visible, you can crop out the other parts of the image right here in Microsoft Word using crop. But we're going to move over and such, and we're going to look at these two lit up buttons here that say position and wrap text. So now if I open, if you notice, these here are the type of buttons that they have this little triangle next to them that indicates that when I click on it, it's going to open up a menu in off the ribbon that I'll be able to choose a variety of different options. So if I click on position, here we go. I've clicked on position, and so now what happens is that there's like 10 different options that they can give you right here in the menu here. The first one is this inline with text, and this is the default. This is when you first insert a picture, it's always going to be set as inline with text. And what that basically means is that Microsoft Word treats that picture as it would, say, like a word or a letter that you've typed. So it will be lined up with the bottom of the line that it's on, and the cursor will actually, so if I put the cursor here, you can see I can move the cursor over to the other side of it, and I can type things on the other side of it there such. So it shows up like in the middle, and it's basically treated like any other letter. And it just happens to just be a really big letter. So like if I move this down to here, you can see like right now it's treating it as like a letter, like right before the word musical, right after 2, but it's really big, so it's put in all this extra white space here because it's just a really tall letter. That's how Microsoft Word perceives this image right now, since it's in line with text. So I'm going to move this back up to here, and we're going to delete my little H's that I did as my example here. Ooh, okay, so let me click and go back to our format here. But what happens is you can also, and then what happens is underneath is a section, there's 9 different options here, and they say with text wrapping. And so what that means is that the image gets put into place on the page, and it's sort of at that point seen as like a rock in a stream of your text. And what that basically means is that your text will flow around, it will wrap around the image as if it was like a rock and water's flowing around a stream. So what does that mean? Okay, so like right now when I first brought in this picture, I put it up here at the top left. So it's like I want this picture to be at the top left of my page. And so you can see there's a top left option up here. And so when I put my mouse over it, actually you can see my text underneath. The preview shows me what it will look like. So I click that right now. There we go. So now what it's done is it's now fixed this right up here at the top left of the page. You can see actually this little anchor mark will tell it's kind of like anchored to the document text here. It's just kind of put here, and then the text starts up the side, and then it kind of comes down, and then it flows around the bottom and then goes down to the rest of the page. If I took this and put this, say, into the middle, you can see now it kind of splits the text onto either side. So worldwide, let me put down importers, furniture, and accessories for your world. And then the text kind of continues down underneath of it. We can also look at, say, doing something like into the middle of the page. Like if I do this, it puts it right into the very middle of the page, and then the text wraps itself around it. So like we have this line here, and then it gets down to this line here, and it actually splits the line, growing in climates as diverse as, so it actually kind of just splits it in there. And then if I added words or whatever, the words would just, let me see if I go here and I add some words and new lines, you can see that the as I added stuff there and such, it moved the text around, but it kept it kind of wrapped around. This picture stayed in the same place, even when I added new lines above it. Just the text moved around and continued wrapping around the image. So those are like the fixed positions. So if we come here to position, there's 10 different like fixed positions. There's the inline with text, and then there's like the text wrapping with different things. But if I come up here, but suppose sometimes you want to be a little bit different. You don't want to go into one of these standard 9 positions where you can put the image. Sometimes you want to be able to put the image, say, right next to this paragraph and not next to this paragraph. So that's where the wrap text here. So if I take and drag, so like suppose I want to take this bamboo picture and I want to put it next to beautiful bamboo down here. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to drag it down and I'm going to set it right next to beautiful bamboo. So it's still in line with text. You can still see it's treating it in line with the rest of the heading that I have here. I'm going to come up here to the wrap text option, and right now you can see the top option says in line with text. And then down underneath, you get a variety of different wrap types. There's square. And what the square does is it places kind of an invisible border square around the image and then wraps the text around the image. Because our image is already rectangular and almost squared, we don't really see much of a difference with this here. But if our image was, say, like a star shape or a circle, the square would actually be it would actually have sharp corners around it, so there might be more white space. In fact, you know, let me say something like this, where it's round, and then we do something square. You can see by doing this here, if I do this here, you can actually see that even though this part over here is round, like up here at the top, this is rounded, this image is not coming over into this space here. It's keeping, it has this like kind of square border around it there. So that's just kind of a demonstration. Actually, I'm going to just undo that. We also have tight, which the main thing about it is that it just kind of presses itself a little closer to the image. Then there's through, and what through will do, actually through won't do it here, but if I put it over here, through will give us our wrap, similar to like what we saw when we put it into the middle of the page, is that the text will run through over to the other side. So bamboo has long been woven into the cultures of many countries. So it starts over here and then continues over here before starting back over here. So this is what the through gives us. And then there is also top and bottom, which actually what I need to do is let me put this into the middle of the paragraph just so we can kind of see how that looks. So what top and bottom does is it wraps at top and bottom. It leaves the sides of the image clear with the text. And then there's a couple different kind of unusual ones. There's things like behind text, which will actually put the picture kind of on top of the text or in front of the text, which means it will actually block what's back behind there. So this is something that you could do if you, say, wanted to like block out sections of your text without actually deleting it, is you could put like an image over it and block it out. And then there's some more complexity here. I do recommend like you go into like wrap points, and I can you can make it kind of like weird, like abstract shapes, and the text will kind of work its way around those abstract shapes there. You can see down here it's done that there, but if I move this here like that, so you can see actually I can set where the points are wrapping. I do encourage go in and kind of play around with that if you want to kind of have some like unusual fun. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes now to go in and take your picture, move it down to the beautiful bamboo thing here. Actually, I'm just going to undo this just so you can kind of see what my final thing I wanted to do is. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it right over here. I'm going to put this back into inline with text. I'm going to put it down here at the start of beautiful bamboo, and I just want to do a wrap on the left. But have some fun playing around with the different wrap types to see what it does. So what you want to do is you want to drag the picture down to next to the beautiful bamboo heading, and then do just like say a square wrap. But also make sure to try out the different positions and then try out some of the other text or the other kind of wraps here. So take about 2 minutes, and if you have questions about that there, please ask either in the chat on YouTube or on the chat on the online-tech-classes page. All right, so I hope you've had some time to kind of play around with the image and image wrapping. I'm just going to show a couple more things that we can work out with images here, and then we're going to go on and work with how to insert tables into your Microsoft Word document. We're going to do some basics of tables in Microsoft Word. So you'll notice that there is on our ribbon here, there is a very kind of large section taking up on the format ribbon here of different picture styles. And so what these are is these are just like some preset styles that you can do to kind of choose how your picture gets presented on there, whether it's like oval shaped or it has a frame around it. And if I click, and so this is another type of ribbon interface, which is one of these kind of like selection drawers. Now you notice over here on the right is that there's a set of different arrows. There's an up arrow, which is grayed out right now because we're at the top row of everything that it's showing. There's a down arrow, which will scroll down and show you all the different things there. So this has 3 different rows of different options in here. And then there's also this third one down there, which what this will do is this will open up and show you the whole drawer and everything that's in it. So this is my typical preferred way of choosing something with this interface style. We're going to see this again when we look at styles a little bit later. And so what happens is you can go in and you can just kind of choose like any one of these sizes here. I kind of like this kind of like dreamlike kind of vignette look that it has here. And then there's things like sometimes you may want to put a border around the picture. So you can do like different borders. You can choose what the border looks like. So if I choose something with a border like this here, I can then make the border narrower or heavier. I can change the color of it if I want to. I can make it orange. Actually, we'll make it green because this is bamboo. We like green going on with the bamboo. So yeah, so you can kind of change those different things. So I do encourage you to go into your own Microsoft Word. We're not going to spend too much time with this today, but go in and kind of play around with these different kind of picture styles and the what you can do with the borders and the effects and the layouts over here. Over here we have adjustments. So you have things like color corrections, and you can change different colors. You have artistic effects. You can make things like mosaic or like etchings, or you can do a lot of cool things with the images depending on the look that you're trying to present in your document there. I'm going to actually just go with something like this, and we're going to make this green. There we go. There we go. Just something nice and simple on my document here. So that has been how to insert and do some basic edits with images in Microsoft Word. Please let me know if you have any questions on that there, and we are going to go on and we're now going to go take a look at tables and how to insert a table into our Microsoft Word document. So I'm going to come down to the very bottom of my document because I want to put a table down at the bottom section of my document here. And so I'm going to go down to the very end of the last line, and then I'm going to hit enter to go down to a fresh line on my page here. Because I want to insert, just like with the picture, when we insert a table, it's going to insert it starting where our cursor is. So because I'm inserting a table, we're going to come here to insert, and right under the insert tab actually is the insert table section. And this is another one of these kind of like drop down kind of options, and when we drop this down on this menu here, we get this grid. And what this grid allows us to do is it allows us to choose what size table we're making, how many rows, how many cells wide it is, and how many rows high it is. So for this class, for our demonstration here, we're going to create a table that has 4 columns and 5 rows. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 4 columns, and you can see them right on the page showing up. It gives you a preview on your page right where your cursor was. And I'm going to make it 5 rows high. So 2, 3, 4, 5. Now all 5 of them aren't showing up on this document or on this page here because they're actually going down to the next page. So what I'm going to do actually is we're going to just put a few extra lines at the start here, just so this all shows up onto one page, just to kind of make it easier for you to visualize through the course of this class. So now that it's here, what can we do with this table here? So one of the nice things about tables in Microsoft Word, they have some of the basic things you can do with like a table in Excel. You can do some very basic like math in them. You can do some sorting. We're going to actually play around a little bit with sorting as we go on this, but their main thing is a good way to organize information that needs to be laid out on as a grid. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do an inventory list for worldwide or wide world importers and their bamboo supplies. So usually in my top row here, and I can click in it and I can just start typing. So these are all like little mini like Word document sections. Any of the text in here, I can do whatever. I can make it bold, I can make it italics, I can make it whatever size I want, I can use whatever font I want, and it will only affect what's in that cell that I'm working on there, or the text that I select in that cell. And I can do something different, and you don't have to fill in the cells all in order. So I could do some text here, and I can do some text over here, text over here, and some text over here. And that's fine. It doesn't matter. All the table is doing is giving some format to where this stuff, for where the text shows up in the document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete these. And so the first thing we're going to do is in our top row, we're going to put a header row. I always recommend with anything that you're doing, whether you're in Excel or you're in Microsoft Word working with a table, always create a header row. It helps for your own organization, and it also helps Microsoft Word understand better kind of how to work with the data that's underneath of it. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put this into a split screen view. Come on. Hold on. There we go. There we go. I'm just going to shrink this just a little bit so we can see the whole. There we go. I know things are looking probably a little small on your screen, but I'm just doing this here just so that we can kind of easily follow along with what's on the practice exercise with what we're seeing over here in Microsoft Word. So let me go here. And here we go. So we're looking right now, we're looking at step 2. We've inserted a table at the bottom of the practice document, and we've created a table with 4 columns and 5 rows. And in the top row, we're going to put the following labels. So up here, I'm going to type in item number, and I'm going to hit the tab key to go to the next cell to the right. I could also have clicked there if I wanted to. I'm going to type in item name, tab, color, tab, price. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to go into your practice document, and at the bottom of your practice document you want to insert a table with 4 columns and 5 rows. Remember, we do that by going to the Insert tab, going down to table, and then you're going to make it 4 by 5. And you can see, actually, if I wanted to, I could create a 4 by 5 table inside my 4 by 5 table. Word doesn't care where this goes. And then fill in the top row with these 4 labels. And I'll give you about 2 minutes for that. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, so I hope you've had an opportunity to go and insert your table in and insert the labels on the top. I apologize if I seem a little bit drowsy. It is very warm in this room right now, and I just had lunch, so it's that whole kind of like mid-afternoon. But I'm going to try to keep it up. It's really energizing talking to all of you and showing you the stuff here in Microsoft Word. So the next step that we have on our exercises here is to change the shading of the top row to be filled with a different color. Since this is our header row, we kind of wanted to make it look a little different than our other rows. Now we can do this a couple different ways. As I mentioned before, the text in here, if I click and drag, I can either select just one of the labels, but if I keep dragging over, you can see I can actually select all the different cells on the top row. And if I wanted to, I can come here to Home, and I can make things bold. If I click Center, what it'll do is instead of centering them on the page, it will center them in the middle of the cells, which is actually, it's kind of a nice look. Instead of them being kind of rubbed up against the edge there, they're kind of centered in there. I can change the font if I wanted to. So you can do all these different things with the text. You'll notice, I'm going to make this bigger just so we can kind of see a little bit easier. Right up here at the top in our ribbon, just like with the pictures, we have some new context-sensitive ribbon tabs. In the case for table, we have design and layout. So if I come here to design, you can see actually we can do, there's a whole bunch of different table styles to choose. And I will tell you personally, I'm actually a big fan of like table styles like this right here or something like this right here that does these alternating lines, because it makes it really easy to kind of read across the line when they're like slightly shaded, so you can kind of tell, like in this case here, like a gray line against a white line. It makes it really easy, especially if you have like a really wide table that you're trying to read across. So that's just kind of what some of these style things kind of are here for. But I just want to kind of demonstrate over here on the left, because we have this selected. So I'm selecting this top row up here. I'm going to come up here to shading, and I can choose a color. And I can choose whatever color I want. And since we're working with bamboo, let's choose green. And I can just choose green. And what it'll do now is it will color the cell green, but keep all the other ones white. So now what happens is it makes the top of our table that has the labels kind of stand out from the rest of the table. So it kind of, this is the labels, and then everything underneath of it applies to those labels. So labels apply to everything below them. Sorry, as I said, it is very warm and very dry in this room. So now that we have Now we have made our header row. We've put in our text and we've added some color to make it pop. Let's start filling in the rest of our table. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you one row here, and then I'll let you go at it. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to do this to kind of get caught up, and while I do it myself, another good time to ask questions if you have any questions about tables at this point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull up the exercises here right next to it so we can easily see what we're filling in. So the next step down here is fill in the rest of the table cells with the following information in order by item number. So the item number is right over here. So we want to fill it in by that order there. So like the first one that we have here is A054. So we're going to put that right up here at the top. A054. Oops. A054. Hitting tab to go to the next item. The item name is bookshelf. The color is red. And it is 127.99. And then when I hit tab, you can see it comes down and starts at the next line down below. So hitting the tab is the easiest way to get from cell to cell, and then it will go down to the new line. It's a little bit different than it is in Excel. If you're in Excel, you would have to hit like the enter key to be able to go down to the next row if you're entering everything by keyboard. In Word, you can just hit tab and it'll continue for each of the, when it gets to the end of the table, it'll go back to the beginning on the left. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to go in and enter in this information here into the table that you have on your Microsoft Word document. I'm going to be doing it myself, but if you do have any questions, please let me know, and it's a good time for me to answer any questions that you have. So about 4 or 5 minutes for now. So just a couple more minutes, and then we'll continue on with looking some more at tables here in Microsoft Word. All right, so I hope you've had the time to insert at least some of the information into your table to practice entering information into a table in Microsoft Word. So, as we're working with Microsoft Word, sometimes when you're working with tables, sometimes you don't really know how big of the table it needs to be. Sometimes you may have made it too small, or you find as you're working with it, you need to add new rows to it. So there are a couple different ways that you can add rows to your table. One of the nice ways is if you're just in the data entry mode where you're just going in and entering stuff in, just kind of blindly entering stuff in like we were doing here. When you get to the end of the table, like I've gotten to my bottom right corner down here, and remember I was using tab to change from cell to cell, and when I got to the rightmost cell, I hit tab, it went down to the next row and went over to the left, like a typewriter carriage return does. Now, here I'm at the bottom right of my cell. There aren't any more rows underneath. So what happens when I hit tab again? Well, let's find out. You'll notice it goes back down to the bottom left, and it's created a new row right underneath. So that's the easiest way to create new rows. You can just keep hitting tab and it'll keep hitting rows down. Now there's also ways that you can be kind of more precise on how you insert rows. So what happens if I've gone in and I've entered in all this information, and you notice that when we were I gave the instructions that when we entered in the information, we were doing it in item number order. Now I want to add in an item number that actually falls in between these two items. So I want to put them in between here. So if I go and let's say I choose, you can either choose the top or bottom. It doesn't matter which direction you go. It's whatever your preference is. But if I go into the top one up here, and I'm going to double click. So you notice when I put my mouse, I go from this white arrow to my mouse over here. I get this little black diagonal arrow. And what this is kind of like the line selection arrow. I don't really kind of know exact like what the purpose is, but what it does is it just basically means that I can select things with this arrow here. So if I click once, it's going to select just the cell that I'm in, the leftmost cell. If I double click, it will select the whole row. So it's an easy way to select like a whole row without having to drag across. Once this is selected, I'm going to right click. Actually, let me show you a different way. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click in this cell. We're just going to click. I'm going to put my cursor in this cell. I want to create a row below this one. So I'm going to come up here to the ribbon where we have the table tools, and we're going to come here to the layout tab. So the layout tab is where we're able to do a lot of different stuff with the layout of the table. You can do things like viewing the grid lines of the table. You can do, this is actually where you can draw it. You can actually create a new table with this information here. You can change the cell size, so you can make the cells different sizes, different widths, different heights. But of importance to us right now is that we have our rows and columns, and you can see we have insert above, insert below, insert left, or insert right. So these two buttons here will insert new rows into our table. These two here will insert new columns to the left or right. We'll look at these in just a second with another one of our exercises. Now, since I'm in the second row or the third row here, and I want to create a new fourth row, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to click Insert Below. And now you can see it's just inserted a new row right in between the two that are there, and I'm able to enter in the new information that I want to add in. A725 bamboo shoe rack. It's natural, and it is $55.99. So you can easily add in rows or columns by using the rows or columns here in the table tools layout. Now the next instruction on our handout, let me actually just pull this up again so we can kind of see it side by side, is to edit the item numbers to make them bold. So this is just an easy, simple select them all, come to the Home tab, and just hit bold, and just so that the item numbers stand out from the rest of the text. I'm a big fan of kind of using this formatting to make things easier to read and to kind of accentuate or make like important information more visible. So like in an inventory like this here, item number is really important. It's important particularly to employees who may have systems that can search for item numbers. So they won't have to type in like red bookshelf or bookshelf red. I mean, what's the way to do that there? But if they put in A054, they'll get the exact item that it refers to. So that makes that kind of easy to kind of pop out and read. So let me take about 2 minutes, go in, and you're going to insert a new row at the right place, A725, which is then between the 663 and the 903. And you're going to do that by either clicking in A663 or A903 row, going to the table layout option up here, and then clicking the insert above or insert below, depending on if you're in one or the other. If you're in A663, you'll do insert below. If you're in A903, you'll do insert above, and then enter in the new item, the bamboo shoe rack, and then make your item numbers all bold. Take about 2 minutes for that, and then we will, it'll take about a minute for that. That shouldn't take too long. Take a minute, and then we'll move on to the next skill that we'll be doing with the tables here. All right, so you've inserted your row, and we've made our text bold. So let's go and look. The next thing that we're looking at is we're going to insert a new column into our row, and we're going to actually have like our stock status, whether or not the item is in stock. And so we want to do the stock status over here on the right side of our table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in any of the rightmost cells. It doesn't matter which one you're in. I'm going to come up to layout, and I'm going to do insert right off of the ribbon up here. So boop, and there we go. Now it's inserted, and you'll notice that it's actually made each of the cells a little bit narrower, just so that it can fit all the cells onto the same page without it kind of going off to a new page or anything. You'll also notice that it automatically like recolored the top one there to match with the rest of the formatting of the rest of the table. And so we're going to do in stock question mark, and you notice it keeps the same font, it's same bold, it's centered, so it kept all the formatting. So it makes it really easy to add in a new column and kind of keep all your formatting consistent, which in Microsoft Word is a very important thing, to kind of keep consistency going so that the people who are looking at your document don't get confused or lost when something changes formatting abruptly. So we're going to do in stock, and then here we're just going to do and start entering in yes, no, yes, and yes. There we go. So now I've gone through and I've now entered kind of in stock status of everything that's there. Delete row. So now that you see I've been able to insert a column, or I'm not going to give you time to go kind of do this and such. It's something you can practice on your own. It wasn't very much different than inserting a row. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that it can be done. The last thing we're going to do here is that we're going to actually sort our table. Right now, when we entered in the information into our table, we inserted it into we manually entered it in item number order. But you can also do some basic sorting with tables in Microsoft Word. It's nowhere near as elaborate as what you can do in Microsoft Excel. Tables in Word are not a substitute for what you can do in Excel. Excel is much better at organizing numbers, figures, and data, but Word is pretty good at presenting those numbers, words, and data. Those numbers and figures and data. And if you take my Microsoft Office integrated class, which I'll be doing sometime in March, I'll be covering how to take information that's in Excel and put it into Word for different presentation purposes. But for right now, there's still some basic things that we can do here in Microsoft Word. So we're going to sort this list actually by price. We're looking at this here, instead of having it by item number, which is really only useful to the company and to the employees at the company. What might be really useful to the customer is if this is in price order, where it goes from the lowest price to the highest price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in my price column over here, just so that I don't know if this is quite necessary. I just like to do it because for me it's an indication that this is the column that I want to sort by. And you'll notice right up here on the top in our Table Tools Layout tab, right over on the right, there is a Sort button. So I'm going to click this here, and this is very similar to the sort that you'll get in Microsoft Excel. It's nice to think about it as a sentence. So when it says sort by, in this case, we're going to sort by price. And we want it to be ascending. Ascending means it's going to start at the smallest and go up to the largest. So sort by price, and then you could do even more complex sorts. So then we could do then by. So if there was a bunch of things that were the same price, we could then do say by item name, and make those say alphabetical. So then it would be by the lowest priced items, and then within the same price point, everything would be alphabetical. So you can kind of play around with how the sort. We don't have enough items here really to play around with too many sorts. So we're going to sort by price, type as number because it's the number that's in there, and we want it to be ascending. We want it to start at the lowest price and go up to the highest price. And then down at the bottom is this little list here, this little option that says My List Has, and it says a header row or no header row. Now, we very specifically created a header row here. So we want to tell it that there is a header row here, and to ignore that, because when we tell it there's a header row, it will ignore that row when it comes to sorting. If we say no header row, it's going to also try to sort this top row with all the ones underneath. So just make sure that you have header row selected, and I'm going to hit OK. And now you can kind of see that everything is now sorted by price. We go from $12.31 up to $169.99, and everything kind of like went along for the ride over here too. So it automatically sorted all the other columns when we sorted by price. So that has been tables in Microsoft Word. We have about 45 minutes left in this class, and we have a couple more things that I want to go over. So we're going to still look at headers and footers, and we're going to look at styles. So let's dive in and start taking a look at the headers and footers in our document here. So I'm going to come back up here to my first page of my document. I just scrolled up here to my first page where we have all of our text. So the header and the footer of your document lives in this white space right up here on the top. So this white margin space right up here, that's the header, and then the footer is kind of the white margin space down here at the bottom. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can access the header or footer. The easiest way, the way that I find most convenient as I'm working in Microsoft Word, is to just double-click. So if I double-click up here in the header, I am now entered into the header and footer kind of editing mode for Microsoft Word. What this basically means is that I can only edit or change information that's in the header. Here you can see it says header here, or the footer. I'm going to actually just zoom in just again a little bit more just so you can kind of see more, or the footer down here, but I can't do anything with the text. So all of my text that's in my document, the rest of my document is left. I can't make any changes to it, which is good because that means that you're not accidentally changing or accidentally clicking or doing something when you think you're in the header or footer. It kind of locks you into there. So the header and footer are also available in the Insert tab. If I come over here, here's header, here's footer. You can then choose kind of some basic formats for them there. This is also, if you notice that once I'm in the header, up on the top, I also have the header and footer tools. I have a design tab, so I get another context-sensitive tab. Noticing kind of one of the themes that we're getting as we're working with in this class here and such is that most of the stuff that we're working with here has these context-sensitive tabs. It's an area that gives you more functions for what you're working with. So we're going to go here to design, and if we come over to header, these header and footer tools here, over here on the left in the header and footer design, are the exact same tools that are in the insert menu, header and footer. So this actually header, footer, page number. These three right here in the insert menu are the exact same things right over here in the header and footer tools design tab. So it doesn't matter where you access or use those there. I'm going to go choose header here, and there's a bunch of different options. There's a bunch of pre-made options that they have. You can always kind of choose the one that you want in your favorite on there and such. The one I like to work with the most because it gives me a lot of flexibility and a lot of control and gives me some more customization as I'm working with things is the blank 3 columns here. So we're going to insert the blank with 3 columns. And what it does is it's given me now 3 different areas on my header here where I can now put different pieces of information. I have one over on the left, which is left justified, so that means any text I enter will come in from the left side of the page. I have over on the right here, which is right justified, so it will start working from the right side of the page towards the center, and then center, which is centered, so it will actually start at the center and keep the text centered there. So it's a very flexible, very useful type of header because I can choose where I put different things into the header of the document. So what kind of things do you want to put in the header of a document? Well, a common thing that you might want to put in there is you might want to put something like the date, or you might want to, page numbers can go in the header. Page numbers can also go in the footer. You could put an author's name. You could put the document's title in the header. You could put a logo, so you can put like you can almost make kind of a letterhead in Microsoft Word by using so up here, up here is like another little Word document. You can do anything that you can do in your Word document down here, you can do also up here in the header. So you can put in images, you can put in any text that you want. So like things like something that you might want to do is you could do logo, address, or how about logo and company name, and then like address and phone number over here, and then you've kind of just made a letterhead without actually having to have letterhead paper. So that's just an option. So what we're going to do actually is over here on the left, we're going to actually put in the title of the document. So what I'm going to do, where it says type here, I'm going to click on it, and you notice that it becomes this like grade selected kind of area, and I'm going to type in WWI, which is Worldwide Importers, inventory sheet, because that's what this is. I'm just giving a title for the document here. I'm going to delete the middle column because for this example we don't want this middle column here, so I'm just going to select on it, and then I'm just going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. It's gone, it's not there, don't need it anymore. And then over here on the right we're going to put in the date, so I'm going to click on it, so I'm selecting it there. And now you'll notice right up here on the top, we're coming back up, we're in the Design tab here for Microsoft, for the header and footers on the Design tab on the ribbon. And you'll notice that there's a little mini Insert section on this ribbon here. And there's some options here. So we have things like pictures, which is it's like the insert picture option that we were looking at earlier in the class. There's things like document info. So this will pull things like the owner of the Microsoft Word that if you have all this information entered in properly. So things like the date that it was created, or the file name, the author of it. All this kind of information can get pulled from what they call the metadata of the document. And we also have date and time. So in this case, we want to put the date on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click date and time. And what it does is it opens up this little window where I can choose what format date I want. And you know what? We're going to go with the written out months. We're going to go February 11th, 2021. And then over here on the right is a little checkbox that says update automatically. So what this would do is if I turn it on right now, it means that every time I open up this document, it's going to automatically update that date up there with the current date. If I don't have it selected, if I turn it off right now, it means that it's going to put in February 11th, 2021 in there, and every time I open it up, it's going to say February 11th, 2021. It's a really useful thing because you can do a last revision function on the document, and what happens is you can make it so that it's the current date on there, or you can make it update automatically. So in this case, because we're going to just make it update automatically, so then if I open up this document tomorrow, it would actually say February 12th, 2021. Hit OK. So there we go. So we have our WWI inventory sheet, February 11th, 2021. And then let me actually show the last couple of skills in this section, and then I will send you off to go do it on your own. We'll give you about 5 minutes to do it on your own. So now we've entered some stuff in our header here. So now we also want to put some stuff down in the footer. So the head is at the top of the document. The footer is at the bottom of your document. So down here, if I click, once again, the footer works exactly the same as the header, except it's over at the top. And what we want to do is we want to put a page number down here. So you notice right up here on the top, we have header, footer, and we also have page number here. If I choose page number, I get some options. I get a menu that opens up, and I get some other menus in here. I can put it at the top of the page. I can put it at the bottom of the page. I can put it in the margin, so it can go either on the left or right part of the margins. We're going to do bottom of the page, and I'm going to do plain number 3 because I like to have it over in the bottom right corner. So I'm just going to choose that, and I'll put the page number down there. Now you'll notice on my second sheet of my document here, right up here at the header, there's the WWI inventory sheet, there's the date, and if I come all the way down to the bottom, there's the page number. It's automatically updating it for all of the pages going through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Go into your own practice document. What you want to do is you'll want to double click up at the top of your page, at the very top of your page, to enter into the header and footer area of your document. Come over here in the header design menu. We're in the header design tab. Come over here where it says header. You're going to choose blank 3 columns. And you'll get 3 columns that say type here. In the left column, type and put in WWI inventory sheet. In the center one, click it and then hit the delete key on your keyboard to erase it. And then over on the right, you're going to come up here and you're going to click date and time, and you're going to choose whatever date format. It doesn't really matter what date format you choose, but also check that update automatically box on the date time. And then scroll down to the bottom of the page and into the footer. Click into the footer, come up here to page number, choose bottom of the page, plain number 3. If there's any questions, please ask them either in the YouTube chat or the chat on the online-tech-classes webpage. And I'll give you about 5 minutes to do all this, and then we're going to kind of go over just some more, a little bit more things about dealing with headers and footers, and then we're going to spend the end of this class looking at styles. So let me know if you have any questions. Okay, just a couple more minutes. I'm not seeing any questions, so I might cut off this time a little bit and get moving on to the rest of the class, because styles are pretty complicated. But let me know if there's any questions, and please continue working on it. All right, so let's continue. I'm not seeing any questions, so I hope people are following along. Again, feel free if you have any questions, you can ask them of me there. So there's a couple more things that I want to go over when it comes to headers and footers before we move on to looking at styles. So one of the things that you may have noticed that when we're working with the headers and footers here is that what I entered on the first page right up here at the top, at the bottom, also happened on the second page. So there's the title, there's the date, and there's the new page number. Granted, the page number is different because it's a different page. It actually pulls that from the page information. If I went in and added new pages in between these two, these page numbers would automatically update. It's really better than doing it manually. So using this page number here means that it'll automatically like repaginate the numbers as they're going. Now, what happens if you want to have you can actually by default the header and footers on every single page are going to be the same, but there are a couple different options that you can do to have some different header and footers. And so that's right up here again in the header and footer tools design tab right up here on the top under the options. There's two different options to look at. The first is a different first page. So if I click this, now, if I come up here and look, this here now says first page header and no longer has the title or the date. Down at the footer, it says first page footer and no longer has the page number there. I come down to my second page and there's the header, and it just says header, just like it did before, and created. And so any page that I make afterwards will have this header and footer, but not the first page. Why would somebody want to do this, you may ask? A good example of this here is that if you want to put a title page on your Word document, so you have a report that you're working on and you want to put a title page on there, that title page you may not want to put the header on that title page, you may not want to put the page number on that title page. So even though that's the first page of your document, you may not want to have that little number 1 on your title page. Or you may not want to have because the title page is already going to have the title and the authors and the date on there generally. So you don't need to put that into the header on the top. That the information on the header is useful if you're like several pages deep into your report and you want to, and somebody's just like, okay, what page am I on, or different information or something on there. So you can actually turn on this first page header and have either no header and footer, or you can have a different header up here. So like if I wanted to, I could do like a Roman numeral number, or I could have something like a copyright statement or something that I wanted to put down here in the footer on the very front page, and then go and use my standard header and footer on the following pages. The other option here is different odd and even pages. So now what happens is when I do this here, you'll notice that I have my header and footer. I turned off the different first page, so we went back to having the normal header and footer on the page. The top here I have my title, my date, and you can see up here it says odd page header because this is page 1, so it's an odd numbered page. Let's go down to page 2. So page 2 is an even numbered page, and you can see it says even page header and there's nothing up here. I'd actually have to redesign the header, and even at the footer I no longer have the page number down there. So why would somebody want to do different odd page or even page, different odd or even page? So part of it is when you think about it, when you have, say, like if you look at a bound book, so when you look at the book on there and you look up at the top of the pages, there's usually something written or entered into the header and the footer of pages in a book. And sometimes it's the same thing. Other times it's different. So what you could do is on your odd page. So if you open it up, your even page is on your left side when you're looking. The odd page is on the right side. So on the even page, you could put, say, the title of the report. And then over on the odd page, on the right side there, you could put, say, the author. So somebody who has it opened up, like it's like a bound book, you've printed on both sides of the page, you've put it into a nice report cover, and they open it up. They look onto the left, and it says www inventory pay report. And then over on the right, it's going to say authored by Frank Skornia or something like that. And it's going to, in each odd or even page, will have that on there. Additionally, you could have page numbers. If you wanted to have page numbers, say, in the outside corners of your footer, you would have to use different odd or even pages, because if you put them all on the right side of the page, then on your even pages, it would be inside towards the gutter of the page, whereas on the odd pages it would be on the outside corner. So what you do is you would do different odd and even pages, and on the even pages you would put it on the left side, on the odd pages you would put it on the right side. So that's that. Actually, let me see if I can actually demonstrate this better. Let me go in and let's insert page number, bottom page, there, and up here. No wait. Actually, let's insert another page, just so you can kind of see how this would look. Okay, so on the even pages, I want this to actually be over here. Okay, so now if let me see if I can actually demonstrate how this looks. Okay, here we go. Perfect. Actually, so let me actually demonstrate. You don't have to follow along with this here. I am just going to demonstrate to kind of show what this looks like. Okay, so we're going to put the date. We're going to delete this. And then over here, we're going to put www inventory sheet. Nope, no, just two W's. There we go. Okay, so now let me go here into my print preview just so you can kind of see what this looks like. Okay, so here we are. So on page 2, so imagine this is in a report cover and it's opened up and you're looking at the pages out there. You can see over here we have the date on the outside corners on both pages. And then we have the title right here. I mean, one of these could be the author, one could be the title, one could be some other information. And the page numbers you see are on the outside corners. And so that's what the different odd and even pages allows us to do. It's mainly there to be thinking about how the headers and footers are presented when you're going to be possibly binding or putting into like a report cover what you have there. If it's something you're just printing out and it's everything single-sided and you're just stapling it, don't worry about the different odd or even pages. So we're just going to go back to here and have everything. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that has been headers and footers. Okay, let me just get rid of the extra page that I made. Okay, so now we have one more thing that we want to look at in this class. We have about 24 minutes. I hope I'm going to be able to do this justice. I always run into this issue with this class. You would think by this point I'd get better at it, but hey. Okay, so we are going to look at styles. Now, styles is actually a very big topic here in Microsoft Word. It becomes the kind of the foundation of like how to start doing a lot more of the advanced and do a lot more kind of complicated work in Microsoft Word. It's good to have a solid grasp of what styles are or how they work. So at the very basics, let me just kind of take a look at okay, so what are styles for? At the very basics, styles are they're just a way of setting a choosing or setting the format for text for specific purposes. So let's go here. We're going back to the Home tab here in Microsoft Word, and you can see a big section of the Home tab. I mean, the Home tab is where you spend most of your time in Microsoft Word, and they have a huge section of it devoted to styles. So obviously it's a very important concept, a very important tool in Microsoft Word. Let me open up, and this is one of those little drawer options. Remember when we were looking at the different picture styles, these are the text styles and they work on this little drawer option. Let me open this up here and we can kind of get a sense at what it's showing. You can kind of see we have some things here. We have things labeled normal, we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. So we're already starting to get a sense of kind of what these are describing. The normal is your normal text. This is when you're just typing something into Microsoft Word, just your normal text. This is what you want most of your text to look like, is going to be your normal style. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. These are different levels of headings that you can use to define sections of importance in your Microsoft Word document. Then we have title. So if you have a big title, you're making a title page or you're putting a big title on your document, you can tell Microsoft Word that this is a title, and it will give it the formatting that is set aside for title. And then there's things like subtle emphasis and emphasis. There's quotes. So if you're putting in a quote, you can, like a long quote that needs to be broken off or shown off differently the way that you're presenting it there, you can design how that quote looks. And then every time you use a quote, you can give it that quote style and they'll all look consistent. And so that is really what it comes down to. Styles allows you to have easy consistency with the formatting in your document. And this becomes really useful if you're doing a lot of work in Microsoft Word and you're doing a lot of repetitive work, and you're breaking things up in sections, you're doing similar things from document to document. You have a bunch of documents that when they might all be made individually, but when they come together, they all need to look the same and behave the same. Styles help you kind of make things consistent. By choosing a title style for all of your titles, every title getting the same title style, it means, I mean, you could do this stuff manually. You could, if I'm making this sheet here, I could type in wide world importers, and I can make it, okay, this is going to, what is this? This is size 14 and it's bold. And I just then can remember every time that I'm going to do something of a title of this importance, I just have to go, okay, it's going to be size 14 and it's going to be bold. And I can do that manually every single time. Or I could tell Microsoft Word that this is a title, and every time I put something in that's going to be a title, I give it the title style. And then when I get down to the end of the document, I decide, you know what? I want my title to look different. I want my titles to look different than they do. Instead of having to manually go back to every place that I've put a title, I can just change the title style, and it will change them in every place that I used in the document. Same thing with headers. Now, the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, those also add in a significance to the text. To Microsoft Word. Right now, when you enter stuff into Microsoft Word, as far as Microsoft Word knows, all of your text is the same. All it knows is, okay, maybe this stuff is bold, but that doesn't matter to Microsoft Word. Maybe this one's a little bit larger. That doesn't matter to Microsoft Word. But if I tell Microsoft Word that this is a heading, now all of a sudden I've told it that this is significant text that is different than the normal text that's in other parts of my documents. This is a heading, and it can treat that heading differently than it treats other text. It also needs that difference. It needs to have that information about what is a heading to do things like to improve navigation or to make a table of contents. If I was doing the advanced class, I'm not doing the advanced class this cycle, but if I was doing my Word advanced class, we'd be looking at table of contents and how it uses styles to be generated. So let's see what the impact of styles are and how to use them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the text. Just like the first thing, almost anything else you're going to do in Microsoft Word, in order to work with it, you're going to highlight the text that you want to change. So I'm going to highlight my first line up here where it says Wide World Importers, and I'm going to come up here, I'm going to tell it this is a title. Click. So now you can notice it's made it larger. It's done, but it's also in the background version, in the code of this document, I've also now told Microsoft Word that this is a title. In fact, actually, this may even show up. Nope, okay, it's not here. Okay, I thought sometimes it would actually even show up into the info for the document. You know, I wonder if I save this actually. No, it didn't. Okay, just seeing if it did. Okay. Sometimes it might show up other places, but now I've just told it this is a title in my document. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight furniture and accessories, and I think there's a subtitle option. I'm going to click that because this is a subtitle for Wide World Importers, and you can see they already have like a prearranged kind of format that they've built in there. For these down here, I'm going to give these an emphasis, boop, so that there's just kind of, again, kind of making them kind of stand out a little bit different, but also giving them a different style from everything else. And then what I'm going to do is on each of my, you notice I have two headings here, and I'm going to actually set these as heading 1. Heading 1 and heading 1. There we go. So what do I have here? Section, yep. And then set the style of the last paragraph to a quote. So yes, we're going to make this last one down here. We're going to make you a quote. And the main reason for this here is to, as you can see, the quote, it italicizes it and centers it. And the reason I'm doing that there is basically just to kind of get a variety of different styles showing up on here. So when we start changing the styles, how it changes. Now that I've set the stuff as being different styles, the nice thing about it is now like my headings up here, these are all consistent. If I go and create another section and need to put a heading on there, I just set it to heading 1 and it's going to look the same as my headings. It's consistent. Consistency is a really important thing. But I can now also use this to change the look of the entire document with just a couple of clicks. So I'm going to come up here. Let me see if I can remember. Okay, actually, I think this is in here. Okay, this is something that's changed from Microsoft 2010 to the later versions. Is they've now given us a new design tab here where we actually get to work with kind of different kind of styles and everything here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here into the design tab, and over on the left there's a themes option, and there's a whole bunch of different themes that we can kind of choose. I'm going to go down and I'm going to choose, let's see, what am I going to choose? Let's choose Metropolitan. And so by choosing Metropolitan, you'll notice now that it actually has now changed. My header text has changed from what it was before. The fonts up here, these are different. The quote is about the same. So let's actually find something else. Droplet. Let's see. I'm trying to find something that's going to have a bit of an impact. Okay, so let's go with integral. Yeah, integral. So again, we have different fonts chosen, and then there's also different formatting here that I can do. So now you can see as I go into the document formatting here, there's a bunch of different options on how I can make it look. I could go with something like this here. If I go something like, okay, black and white numbered, we have basic elegant, basic simple, basic stylish, black and white. Let me see, what do we have down here? Let's do something fancy. Shaded, minimalist. I want something that really kind of pops. Word 2003, Word 2010. Yeah, let's go Word 2010. And now you can see now the title now has an underscore underneath of it. Our subtitle is now blue instead of the gray that it was before. This is a slightly different font. There's a bit different spacing that happens there. My heading titles is a little bit different. My quote actually doesn't stand out as much as the quote did before. If I do something like this, there we go. So now the quote really stands out differently. These now have gotten centered. This is now centered and actually has bars over the top and bottom. So you can see by just choosing the different things, first of all, I'm getting a really actually nice looking document here. But at the same time, all of these changes are just happening with a single click. I don't have to go back to each heading and change the color of it and the centering of it and the font. It's all being done. Even my normal text, my font here and such, all of this is being changed automatically based on the style design that I'm choosing. We can go in and actually, because we are bamboo, we're going to change everything to green because it all kind of matches with the green bamboo kind of stuff here. And so you can now see my quote is green. I can actually, since this went on to another line, I can delete some of these extra spaces that I have here. So we get our inventory list pretty close to that there. So that's what styles basically allow you to do. The styles allow you to actually, first of all, give significance and definition to different parts of your text by telling it that this is this sort of text, whether it's normal, whether it's a heading, whether it's a title, and then styles allow you to style it, to design it the way that you want it to look, and it will then be consistent through your entire document. So that is intermediate Microsoft Word. I hope you have had a good time. There's a little bit of an exercise at the end about creating your own style. This is just a matter of choosing the formatting that you want. So if I come over here and I choose this sentence here, I could make this a different font if I wanted to. I can make it this font. I can make it larger, and I can make it bold, and I could make it red if I wanted to. And then I can go over and I could create a style using this and give it a name. This is just new style. Okay. And now I can actually give, if I wanted to give, say, this first sentence, I want to give the first sentence of each paragraph the new style, I can now consistently. So it's just a matter of going in and create a style, choosing my formatting and using that to create a style, and then I can use that through my own document. So you can, once you get comfortable using styles, you can then design and create your own set of styles for your own purposes, and then you can just keep using that as you keep using Word. So with all of that, thanks for anybody who came and joined me. Coming up here in Ferguson Presents here on YouTube, next week we're going to be looking at basic Microsoft Excel. So make sure to check our calendar at fergusonlibrary.org/event, or come here to online technology or fergusonlibrary.org/online-tech-classes to keep up with our schedule and to the link for watching this video here. Otherwise, you could also follow and subscribe the Ferguson Library on YouTube. If you followed along with this class and you enjoyed it or you didn't enjoy it, whatever, if you followed along, I would really like your feedback. And so for that there, I recommend please going to, hold on, I messed up. We're going to go here. Please come to my survey link here. This is just my feedback survey, which will allow you to go in and provide feedback for me and this course here and how it's going. Sorry, I'm trying to fix something on one of my devices here. So if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask them in either of the chats. I'll be here for just a couple more minutes, and I do hope to see you next week for basic Microsoft Excel. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions. Thanks again for everybody who joined me. I hope to see you next week. And this is have a really great weekend and stay safe with the President's Day holiday.